back. Very many thanks for choosing to stay with us. And in case you're just joining us, welcome to Kenya's Gold, where the focus of the day, as is the norm every single Friday, is on climate smart agriculture, sustainability, and environment conservation. In this particular hour, we want to learn a lot more on what we can do now for a better tomorrow. And the best people that will be teaching us about that today are this very fantastic gentleman, Majenzi, wamekuja na all the psych, unaona vile anakafiti. On my far right, we do have Blair. Then we also have Peter. Very many thanks for making time to be with us.
Thank you very much.
On my left, we have Ugi. Karibu sana, Ugi.
It's my pleasure.
And before we even get into the conversation on trees and bees, because mmekuja na energy na mmeniambia Majenzi mko na moves zenyu za kijenzi, nataka kufundishwa move ya kijenzi. Sasa mimi ni millennial. So mtanifundisha? Nani master hapa katika chanyi watatu?
Malale.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, Peter. Wamekuchagua wewe. What can we do? Tufundishe. What are we doing?
Si tutasimama kwa.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Tusimama.
Tunaanguka na.
Tunaanguka nayo. All right. So, let's go.
Na ukiweza hata ukienda chini hakuna shida.
Tufike chini. Na tukiangukia beehives.
Tunaamka tu.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go.
Anguka nayo.
Okay. Until tunafaa kufika hapo mwisho.
Mpaka chini.
All right. 1, 2, 3, go. Anguka nayo. Mimi ndo nimefika chini peke yangu waseso ndo najua kitu kwa shida. Thank you so very much for making time to be with us today. Now you are part of SMACS Foundation, which is very keen when it comes to environment conservation. But before we even get to talk about the projects that you are on, you're 20, you know, at such a young age, what inspired you to be so passionate and speak very broadly about environment and want to change the environment that we're living in right now? Blair.
Yeah, thank you actually for having me on this show tonight. I've been raised in the slums of Mathare North. I've seen how young people actually grow, and the environment is very devastating. The pollution, plastic pollution, and also there's lack of basic just needs like food. And growing as a young person, I have a media background. I'm a journalist. I'm a climate journalist.
Nice.
And I wanted to be on TV, but I later learned that I can also use my skills to be able to champion for these issues that are affecting these communities, marginalized communities in where I used to live, which in Mathare. And I realized that there's so much that can be done when we come together, when we forge ahead, and we can be able to assist these marginalized communities in Mathare, in the slums, and all those areas by actually championing for climate action, for also championing for food security. And that is why I actually find myself in this climate space, because I want to be the change in my community. I want to change how people view those communities so that can be able to actually find ways we can be able to champion for food security, get people food, and etc.
I'll be moving to Ugi very shortly, but before I leave you, Blair, you know, there's that thing that we normally say, we left home to change home. All right, now that you've given us your background of growing up in Mathare North and seeing all that pollution, where you are now, since you're standing on a more informed space, what are some of those things that you're doing to change where you come from?
Yeah, as I've said earlier, I'm a climate journalist, and I'm championing for the young people. I'm championing for the young people to get into farming. I'm championing the young people to get into the climate space. And being a person, that is why I actually joined SMACS Foundation, because the initiative is very solid. The initiative is very strong. I can be able to get a platform where I can be able to champion for these issues. And when I go back home, I'll be like, this is what we've been able to do. This is what we can be able to do to ensure that these issues that are affecting the communities are no longer affecting the communities. And one of them is being pollution, you know, land pollution, plastic pollution, where there's no water, enough water for people to drink, there's no food, you know, such issues.
Great. All right, coming to you, Ugi, one of the very fascinating and very inspiring things that you're doing in SMACS Foundation is the fact that you are adopting forests. And about now you're adopting about 200 acres of Chepalungu forest in Bomet. Please, you know, most of the time when you talk about adoption, mostly you think of adopting a baby. here you are enlightening us on, oh, we can adopt forest as well. Please talk to us about that project and what are the laws, you know, governing such an initiative. Ama pia mimi leo naweza amka niende Karura Forest niseme half of this I want to adopt it. How does that work, and what is the importance of the adoption of the forest?
So I'll talk about how we are adopting the Chepalungu forest, sorry. Then I'll let Malale explain the framework behind it.
Great.
Because he's our climate lead. Yeah, so Chepalungu forest is a very important part of the ecosystem in Bomet County. It was actually a water catchment area. It's a source of, it's where animals live. So it was destroyed some years ago. And that, of course, affected the whole community around it. And it's just one of the many forests in Kenya that have gone through the same. So that was why we decided, in as much as we are looking forwards to the 15 billion trees dream by 2032.
Right.
So it was the first step that we are taking towards. And the fact that as young people, we have that capacity and it's in our hands that we can make the little changes. So in Chepalungu Forest, we are seeking to rehabilitate 200 acres of them in collaboration with a few other organizations, a few other entities. So I'll let Malale handle the legal
work,
aspect.
Right. Yeah. But before we even get to understand the policies and the framework that governs that, someone is listening to you right now and has heard you say that Chepalungu Forest was destroyed. Yeah. Right? And so very many other forests are going through the same. What are some of these things? Are they human activities that we do that lead to the destruction of these forests? Make that very clear for us.
Yeah, actually, the biggest threat to Kenya's forest is human activities. When I talk about human activities, I'm talking about logging for charcoal, logging for wood for construction, and most of it is illegal logging.
Right.
So that is the biggest threat to Kenyan forest. It's the people around, and I would maybe we should do more on educating the people, because we find that most people do not actually understand the effect that comes with them destroying the forest. You know, they just see the money that they receive today maybe from the forest that they're going to, but at the end of the day, it ends up affecting the whole community at large. So I think we should also do more on civic education, especially on matters forests.
Great. Peter, mtu wangu wa mastingo deadly. Now it's time for you to help us understand, you know, the policy and the framework that governs initiatives such as adoption of forests. Ndo mtu mwingine asisikie kipindi asikie, pia mimi nilisikia my youth man jana wameadopt forest, pia mimi naenda kuadopt sahi. What procedures do I need to follow so that that is successful?
So number one, what we normally do is, first of all, to have a goal. At the end of the day in this space, what we look at is identifying what we want. Like for instance, as a foundation, we looked at forest restoration. Then from now, the aspect of forest restoration, we looked at where are we going to restore this forest.
All right, let's fix something very shortly on your mic, but before we get there, and then you'll continue with explaining to us about the procedure of the legal framework. Blair, we do have different beehives on our sets. Ole mtu ambaye ajui sana anaweza dhani ile iko pale mwisho ni drama. Please, let's make it very clear. This is not drama festival. This is a beehive, all right? Yeah. Talk to us about the evolution of these beehives, what we can see here. And I'd like for you to start from what we have at the far end. Okay, so basically, we have traditional and modern beekeeping. Right. So I'll start with these two. These two, the one that is there. On top of the table. Yeah, it's called Kenya Top Bar Hive. It's called the what? Kenyan Top Bar Hive. It was invented here in Kenya by the young farmers that we have, that we had then. And also we have the Langstroth Hive. This one, it is modern, but it was not invented in Kenya. It came from abroad. And also we have the traditional log hive. So initially, before we had these two, people used to use that one. It has an excluded. So sijui nisimame nizifuate. Si ndio? Ndio tusipoteze. Unajua hapa ni class. Lazima viewers waelewe, si ndio? All right, so when we are here, this is the traditional one.
Yes, that is the traditional log hive. That was the one that was being used sometimes earlier back, but that is a modern invention of the traditional log hive from SMARCS Foundation.
Right.
Yes, it has a queen excluder inside that excludes the queen from the other bees.
Right.
Yes.
But this is the traditional.
Yes, it's the traditional log hive.
And then this is the
Kenyan top bar hive.
Which is invented here in Kenya.
It was invented here in Kenya, but it is being used globally, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Meaning we're exporting it to other countries, or now they're also making this?
They're using the idea behind it to actually make their own. You will find most of them, they usually call it the top bar hive.
All right.
But its name, it's the Kenyan top bar hive. Yes.
All right, and then now we have this one.
Yes.
Talk to us about this one.
So the Langstroth hive is one of the modern beehives that we have. And it has, these are called bars that usually have where the bees usually create their, where they make honey from these combs. They usually are here. And then it is very good because it can be able to harness quite some good honey when you use it. And the difference between the two is that this one is used with so many people, and that one is a bit limited, but most countries use it.
So this is the one that's commonly used?
This one is that is commonly used.
All right, you can have your seat.
Langstroth hive.
And just as we take a break, you know, for us to have these beehives, lazima ukate mti, ndo utengeneze nyumba ya nyuki. So we'd want for you to explain to us, how are you compensating for these trees that we are cutting to make the beehives?
Okay, when you look like for that Kenyan top bar hive, it has glasses. So there's that minimalistic aspect of it, where people are trying to minimize to use trees to be able to create the beehives. So you find now we are incorporating other methods like kutumia glasses so that you can be able to actually create the beehives. And for like these two, you find that most of the times people use waste from the carpenters. Like for example, this one, that one here, it has, this is waste from the carpenter's workshop. Yeah, it is the one that has been used to create that log hive.
Right.
And also it applies also to most of the other beehives.
Kwa hivyo uendi kukata mti ya fresh. Great.
Unakata kidogo.
Kadogo tu. Na unaenda unapanda ingine, si ndio? All right, so we want to take another break right now. Msee wetu wa Mastingo Deadly hatujamsahau. When you come back from this break, he will be helping us understand the framework and policies that do govern initiatives of adopting forests. But before we go on a break, let us tease the farm joke of the day. And the question that we will be asking is, do you have the question? So my gentleman, unacheki screen, tuko na swali ya the day. What do you call bad fruits and vegetables? Yani kama imeharibika. It's a farm joke. Don't overthink it. Don't tell me anything scientific. Okay? Phosphorus, you know, calcium, Ke, magnesium. No. All right, we are taking another break right now. We will be back with a lot more on what the Gen Z generation is doing when it comes to environment conservation. Do not go anywhere.